When you start really being careful, I think you still reduce the amount of complications way more. And the first 6 months, I was not about just perfection. It's more about if I can handle it, I can handle it. If I'm not able to, it's okay to ask for help or transfer and do things. And
Hey everyone, Chris Brown here with a video for Murmur. I have the pleasure of being joined by Mahesh Ananta. He's the director of cardiovascular services in White River, and we're really excited because he's going to tell us a little bit about how he is able to build and manage his program at a site that does complex PCI without surgical backup. So, Mahesh, thank you so much for doing this, man. We really appreciate it.
thanks, Chris, for having me in this. It's always a pleasure to be here. Um, let's jump straight into the topic. We were just discussing, we're doing all this complex interventions in our program, and when people go to these programs to join, the first thing you ask is, hey, you have surgical backup. How much can you do in a place without surgical backup is the question for most of the fellows when they try to get out of a program. So I'm here to answer that. The first thing I would say it's just better be safe than sorry. So don't try to push too much. As long as you don't have the expertise, it's always better to just refer them to have a safe surgical backup. But that said, if you read every balloon that you open will say you need a surgical backup for blowing up a balloon in the coronary. So I mean, we don't know like where it stops. As long as you have you've done cases and you're believing in outcomes and you think it can be safely done, I think it's doable. So 3 years ago or 4 years ago when I came to this program, we did not have any atherectomy or any left mains or any CTOs, or any complex intervention more than a type B lesions. The last 3 4 years, we have access to all the atherectomy devices, including Rhoda and Shockwave and CSI, and we do quite a bit of Impella left main, including RVs and LV Impellas, and we just recently got access to ECMO in our program. So basically, via ECMO, just as a backup or patient with cardiac arrest. Um, so the program started like 6 months ago, and we've been pretty successful, and we've had like good outcomes in the last few cases that we've done. Um, I would say like when it comes to using these devices, we usually just end up placing, for example, an ECMO catheter. We usually end up placing it. The decannulation is done by a surgeon with vascular privileges. If obviously we need some sort of an escalation and stuff, we just depend on a sister hospital or a bigger hospital that they work really closely with us, and we have a close association with them. So just to go over the process in depth, for example, like if you have a patient that comes,
Please.
we have cardiac arrest, and we have the protocol, and we are part of Arkansas Cardiogenic Shock Initiative. So we have 8 hospital centers, and we participate along with the Baptist Hospital, the main Baptist we call in Little Rock. And anytime these patients come, these network gets activated if they are cardiac arrest and they meet all the criteria within 45 minutes of downtime and stuff, and we immediately take them to the cath lab and plan on ECMO. By the time the ECMO team gets activated, we don't try to maintain ECMOs in our program at this point. So anytime we end up placing an ECMO, we just do emergently, and then we end up like if it's a STEMI causing it, we just go ahead and open up and revascularize. When things are happening, when we put it in, there is a flight that's already flying from Little Rock, which is an hour and a half from here by commute, but usually the flight it takes like 20 minutes or so if the weather and everything is good. So they start by the time we start getting our ECMO set up and everything ready. By the time we place the ECMO, we start looking at the coronaries. And once you put them on ECMO, they're more stable, but we don't try to move them out of the cath lab. We actually keep them in the cath lab and wait for the steam to actually come and arrive, and they move them straight to their bed. By the time when they reach, I have enough time to actually do this ECMO cannulation, coronary angiogram. We usually do a pulmonary angiogram, make sure it's not a PE that's causing rare like VFib or PA cardiac arrest. And then we have all this protocol. We get all this as per the protocol, the lactate and pH and everything that needs to be done. Uh, and we end up getting antegrade perfusion catheters on these patients to try to get them shipped and be ready. Um,
How did you join your cardiogenic shock network? Obviously, as you mentioned, you came to your hospital. You guys had some, you first got there. There's type A, there's type B. You've obviously built many things along the way. You added mechanical circulatory support, supported PCIs, you did the left mains, you did the CTOs. I mean, you obviously built each piece along the way.
Right.
How did you phase each piece in, kind of generally speaking, and then how did you connect with the your shock network or whichever hospital you guys decided that you're going to sort of treat and then send the patients to?
Exactly. It's going to be very difficult. They've done this 40 years, the same old stuff they've been doing in the hospital. They've never changed their practice. So it's really, really difficult to establish something like that. Even asking for atherectomy in that case was challenging. So you just have to have good outcomes for the first 6 months to 1 year and prove yourself you're valuable and your complication rates are less and no mortality. And I would always stress to all of our fellows when they come for training, it's really important to get your first 100 cases done with no major complications. Just don't try to sign up for a lot of complex stuff in the first 6 months, and makes it happier yourself and then the administration happy. And then you can get to talk to them and explain to them, yes, this can be done and that can be done. So admins usually like to hear positive things about patient experience, plus also resources for them. And obviously, if there are things that's making money for the hospital, they are happy to do it as long as you reassure them that it's being done safely with no complications. So it took a little effort from my end for sure to just convince. It's not like we asked for it and they provided immediately. But before joining the hospital, I requested a few things even before I joined, including the atherectomy devices and stuff, which they were open to, and they really wanted to get you there. So they will do some stuff. So initially, you can ask for a few things, but then doing it over a period of time and slowly making yourself comfortable and showing these people outcomes and having routine meetings with them, both financially and outcome wise. I just voluntarily kind of made all these meetings and financial meetings and showing the profit margin for the hospital was also patient care, reviews, and outcomes. So you just have to constantly go to these people and just prove that you're doing the right thing and get some support. So slowly they were starting to believe, and that was a turning point. I felt after 1 year, they started believing more and more, and they started coming to me and asking, "Hey, do you want to do this and do you want to do that?" So I involved Impella people, had a meeting, local community talks, and just started having abiomet reps and showing the device and everything, and then slowly built a PE program. So everything just moved smoothly after 1 year, and then finally the last thing was trying to get it more since year one. It took me at least 3.5 to 4 years to get the setup. Um, but mainly just starting slow and proving yourself to the administration and making them happy and respect to patient care, avoiding complication stuff. It's what helped me, I think, over a period of time. And also getting trustable colleagues who are experienced who can share your work and try to help you and stuff will help. I have a good colleague who works with me, and it's a really good team that we've created. So
You said a bunch of really interesting things that I think we should unpack a little bit. I think one of the things that we don't learn in fellowship is, of course, they don't spend a lot of time thinking about the economics of things like cath labs, but of course, we all know that cardiovascular service lines, and particular procedural ones, help generate revenue so we can provide the other services patients get, like infectious disease care and other things that lose money. And as you mentioned, the hospitals are pretty keen on things that are financially viable. So how did you get into, or how did you first start to show them about the financial viability of the different things you were trying to add? Because that's a really big turning point, I think, for a lot of
right.
programs, is making the administration understand that they're not doing certain things that are both good for the patients, but are also financially viable in their
Right, right.
program.
At first when I moved to the program, I was just all about like, oh, this patient's getting this outcome. They're going to survive. They're going to do great. And yes, as much as they want to listen to, they also want to listen to the other aspect of it because they have to run a business. At the end of the day, it is important for them to make sure that they are doing some profit margin, not losing all the time. So I kind of started looking into this in depth about reimbursement from the hospital, not only my RVUs, but also how much every procedure is reimbursing from the hospital. Not that you have to look into that to affect patient care, but patient care comes first, and then you kind of like learn over the period. So I work closely with my coders and billers, and I ask them every time I do something. I said, "Hey, how much did the hospital get paid? What's the reimbursement rate for us, and what's the pay ratio for us, and what are we getting out of this?" And I intentionally asked people, including the equipment guy, financial guy, utility people, to set up meetings every few months to try to go over things and say, "Hey, where did we lose money? Where did we gain money? What made profit?" So they kind of like looked at my way of approaching things, and they said, I think this guy is really wanting to help us, so kind of we'll provide what he wants. So I kind of like made it a good collegiate relationship, and that's how we slowly started asking for financial meetings with the coders, billers, equipment guy, and said, just every 3 months, just meet with me and tell me where I'm losing it. I want to know if I'm losing $20,000 in a case. I want to change practice. I can use a $50 wire, I can use a $300 wire, I can make the difference. This obviously won't do the best thing for the patient, but in everyday case, I can make the difference by using it. In 10 cases, I can save money and I can waste in one CTO case as possible. But I'm saying it's important for us physicians to also understand that they're also running a business model, and we really have to participate and help them, not just saying, I need this thing and I want to take care of patients and I need all I ask for. More than that, if you just tell them you take some extra effort, you will be reimbursed better, the hospital will be reimbursed better, and patients are happy. And that's a path I took from the beginning. And during my fellowship, I started looking at all this financial aspect and stuff. And even every day, I do sit with my coder and ask them, what was the last week? How was it looking like? Was there anything really bad? Was there anything good? So we talk about one case. It's like when we have this meeting, we talk about one particular case where we made or lost a whole lot of money, and then the entire 3 months timeline. See what really happened in the last 3 months, how much you lost, how much you made versus reimbursement stuff. So it does help from your standpoint to understand business and healthcare better. To their standpoint, they're also happy to deal with you, and also they feel like you have some business administration. They give you important roles, and then that also another reason they made me the medical director or cardiovascular director here after looking into the financial aspects and working with them. So you want to be a guy who is a team player for the hospital, I would say, just more than just saying, I want to use this and no excuse, you are giving me the device, and you start yelling at them. That's when they lose interest. They want to find reasons to fire you. They want to get on your cases, to review your cases and stuff. They find your M&M. They always have stuff to go work against you. I mean, they always have some stuff. As long as they like you, they keep going. If they want to find some fault, they can always go to like a case 3 years ago and find it. Hey, you did this. This is a problem. And you just want to be nice and maintain a good relationship with the administration, and really advise all the new people getting into practice to just learn the financial aspect of cardiology. It
Yeah.
helps.
I mean, it sounds like you went out and filled some gaps with whatever you didn't know by asking all the people that deal with it every day, and then you just wanted to be a partner with your administrative team so you guys could provide people care. And obviously, you've done patients a huge service because from a place where you could only do a type A PCI or type B PCI to a place where you can do some incredible things that we're going to keep talking about here.
Right.
That's a huge and dramatic change. Something else you mentioned, which is I think important because everybody's going to get a job somewhere different, and
Right.
so I think it's really interesting to understand, how did you keep your technical skills up while trying to avoid, as you mentioned, you didn't want to have a complication in the beginning. Where I went to, I was not focused on that part of program building because that, from a cultural standpoint, I was okay. If we had a complication, we weren't going to be sort of persecuted for that for a number of reasons. But you're right to say that many places are looking for that and want low complication rates, especially to start.
Right.
Um, and so, how did you manage keeping your technical skills high while avoiding some of the really arduous cases that can sometimes just essentially, they're just higher risk for a complication. Sometimes the complications are unavoidable.
Right. No, no, 100%. I mean, I mean, I kind of make fun when people ask for the job and complication rate. I say, like, we poke an artery for a living. We are prone to get complications. So I've had enough, but I've learned a lot from my mistakes. But I always, when you start really being careful, I think you still reduce the amount of complications way more. And the first 6 months, I was not about just perfection. It's more about if I can handle it, I can handle it. If I'm not able to, it's okay to ask for help or transfer and do things. And it took time. Like, so some people, like when they're out of fellowship, they want to do the most complex stuff. They want to sign up for this and they want to do this and that and that. But yes, your skills will always be there as long as you keep doing things. And again, doing a heart cath on your own after fellowship is a big deal because you've never done that. There's always an attending right next to you. So that slowly taking your time to settle and keeping your expertise and going to conferences and watching videos and talking to people just to maintain your skills. And I've done quite a bit of like this. I mean, I've been to this complications course in here, and I've been to all the other conferences. You don't want to waste a lot of time just going only to conferences. You want to keep up with your skills, but it's important to just keep in touch and learn and educate yourself every day. I think it's constant. It's a constant learning process. I mean, you may think this is the only way of doing it, but there's like 100 different ways of doing it. Watching videos on like Twitter and then now Murmur General. Like, I mean, I do learn a lot from other people sharing. Oh, this is another way of doing it. These kind of these things kind of like make a lot of sense and help with getting you're yourself trained. You both said, okay.
Fantastic.
Um, but over a period of time, I think the balance between not having a complication and trying to sign up for a case safely, I think my confidence got better over a period of few years. I would say it didn't happen overnight. It definitely happened over a period of like 2 3 years, but it really helped taking my time and getting better. Um, so I would say to start slow, but don't give up on the skills and keep your skills refreshed every time you go to boot camps and training and different conferences. But just to find balance with your practice and administration. Try to impress people enough. Don't do bad things, but keep up with your skills. So,
And then, all right, so here you go. You've come in, you've gotten some of the devices you want, you didn't have complications, you started doing harder and harder things. How did you get to your first mechanically supported case? How did you get them to give you mechanical circulatory support? You mentioned you guys do, it sounds like RP or RP Flex now too. How did you get them, and you have ECMO? How did you get to that first mechanical supported case?
so the first case I knew, I remember if I remember like the first Impella case I ever did was a planned PCI, and that was not the most complex left main. So it's okay at times to just get yourself through the placing an Impella itself is it's a big deal, and then on top of that you're doing a complex intervention. You don't want to sign up for that as a first case. The first ever case I did that was a left main. I didn't have to do a atherectomy and stuff. It was like a 70% osteal left circ, and then the left main distal was diseased. So you could just get a easy, not like complicated DK crush step. So I didn't want to make that procedure still complicated, and it was not a cardiogenic shock crashing case. So I did that, and then I showed them how it is, and I called all these people and explained. And then I started doing like a couple other cases with the Bella. So the first time I asked for, I told them I'm gonna have management come by, and everybody's like put there like and trying to watch. But I didn't want to pick the most complex case as the first thing. You don't want to just do the bad mortality cardiogenic shock case as the first case and say edit the Impella. It's okay to just defer that case or transfer them at some point and say I want to start with the fresh elective case. And same thing we did for the ECMO too. Like anytime you start something, it's better to just plan an elective low risk procedure to show them this is being done carefully and it improves outcome, and then you can always go back and do it in your complex. So that confidence after doing one or two elective cases which had a great outcome boosted my confidence, and I felt happy after that, and I started doing it in more complex cases after.
And do you have interventional partners that also now do mechanically supported cases with you and place
Yes,
ECMO
yeah.
and things?
So we do like, yeah, I think
And also,
we've a couple other guys that are good with like using mechanics to support device at this point, so it is helpful. Right now, I have the license to do ECMO, but I'm actually getting someone else to also get on because I'm on call 24 hours, 365 days if something happens. But
so many days.
I just don't want to sign up for that. But we have a couple other people. One other person we're interviewing, and the other person I'm actually trying to get him credentials, so kind of can run the ECMO program in the future.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. And
Thank you.
so, what are some of the hurdles that you had to overcome when you were starting this?
Yes, with starting the program like this, people are all looking for failure. I'll tell you, like a lot of people around you, like are trying to make sure that, oh, this is not good for us, and obviously people in ICU, you have to really convince them to say it's okay, you can maintain it. And people get scared of things easy. They're able to maintain a balloon pump by say like Impella is easier to maintain than a balloon pump being maintained. Say so just constant education. The things that I felt difficult for me to navigate through was mainly lack of awareness and education from some of the staff because never been exposed for 40 years like this, and it's a change in culture. In the cath lab, they're so used to seeing some complex stuff and saying, "Oh, cabbage, nothing. No, no, don't do anything. Cardiogenic shock. Oh, they're gonna die. Don't do anything." So that was the most difficult part I felt, to change the culture and tell them, "Hey, it's doable, and we can achieve a good outcome. They're not gonna die. We can get them out of it. CTOs make sense. We can do them and dual access. Like the first time you do dual access, they're like, "What are you doing? Like, you can't put two catheters in the body." I'm like, "No, no, no. This is doable. Let me show you. This is how it's done. We can work with this." Now our team is extremely comfortable in doing any of the complex cases. They'll sign up for ECMO, and all our people we've trained. But it's training them and making them believe that it's doable. And I know you guys not haven't done that, but it's doable. And showing them outcomes and going to ICU and telling them, "Hey, it's okay." Even if you do the cath lab gets convinced, the ICU people are not convinced. They're like, "Oh, Swan, I don't think we can handle the Swan. That's too much for us." Like, you guys can maintain an Impella, you can maintain a Swan. So then, it's not about just doing the procedure. It's about like convincing people pre and post to try to make them believe that it's being done. And also, anytime you have a little failure, then it goes immediately. They're like, oh, that's bad for them. That's bad. It's a small community. That's a culture. Like anything small happens, it makes it really big. And if you have any small outcome, they're like, oh no, it's really bad. And the other thing, which I wouldn't say it's a bad thing, but it's a little more involved when you're doing it in a place like this. You don't have somebody to look behind you and say, "Oh, I have a backup here; they can take care of it in the next minute." You have to transfer them an hour and a half. So always have to remember when you're trying to do this stuff, you have to prepare like 2 steps ahead and saying, "If something's going to go wrong, I don't have a backup. What do we do at this point?" So this careful planning really helped me while this, but overall, the difficult part of the entire thing I would say was just to convince people to believe that they can do it.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. I think you said something multiple times in this conversation, which is so important, which is, when you go somewhere, there is a culture, and whatever that culture is, if it doesn't work for what you need to do for your patients, it's sort of up to the physicians to do exactly what you did, which is change that culture and show people that they can do these things. And now you've given, I'm sure, your lab staff and other people even more meaning to their life. They're doing these amazing, complex things, helping really sick patients, doing things that they maybe never thought they could ever be a part of, or would be contributing to. So, I mean, that's a huge testament to what you've done there, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it. No, they definitely they feel happy. Like now they've learned so much. They go to the other labs, they talk about it. They feel proud. Like share the case on like the Cath lab lounge and stuff. So they're all like, oh, we do this, we do that. Like so they kind of like love it and they want to learn and do new things and stuff. In fact, it happened in a way that it just like there are some of our Cath lab staff who had their own problems and we took care of them safely. And that made them believe more in this, like, oh yeah, okay. So that really creates trust. And then like a PE program that we created, one of our young techs in the Cath lab, 27-year-old, had like a massive PE and put it on the table. And she was in the second case for us and got it in. And she's like doing great with no arm strain, nothing now. So she kind of like at that point, it makes them believe in a small town like this. You do something on a patient of in the cath lab or their family and stuff, then they start believing in you, and that really helped. After, I'm not saying that people should get a bad something bad for for them to
Yeah,
believe in you, but I'm saying like it really helped at that point. And people started like trusting more and talking to me more. And we have the best cath lab team at this point. Like they flip rooms, they get things done. They know exactly if I say this is the case, they will look it up. They will look at the CT scan. They'll look at the prior stuff. They'll look at access, and they will plan everything for me because I've taught them in a way that say this is all things you look for. This is all things you tell me to make the lab more efficient. So they'll look at, oh, this is a positive stress test. You did this last time. This is the size of the stent they did last time. So they give all the information before we even start the case. So that's very helpful. But I'm glad that they listened to and they were trained and they took it positively. So I'm very fortunate to be.
that's fantastic. I mean, I hope that everybody on Murmur, including myself, learns from the sort of example you set, because you're right. When you teach people, it takes time, but that effort is rewarded on the backside because they can, really help you be more efficient and do the things that you want to do in a
Definitely,
really
yeah.
nice way.
No, thank you.
Tell
Appreciate
us
it.
a little bit about what sort of involvement industry had in helping you with any of these things, whether that's Impella, whether it's ECMO, whether it's the atherectomy devices. Did you utilize, or is there anything that you would recommend people do to help leverage those people to get the things that you need? Because they have kind of, they have resources. There's no question about
Oh
it,
yeah,
right? We
yeah,
consume
yeah.
expensive products. So,
No, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I would say companies is always your friend. Like, I mean, just having the right people, right time, like just talking to people. I initially started like when I wanted to implement the Abiomed program, I had some connections and I talked to the vice president or president at that point from Pella, and we made sure like we have the best backup and people available to help us and support. I took these people to administration. They have all the presentations and everything, and they made some grand rounds when they started saying how these devices can be used and implemented and what's the benefit and whatnot. Plus, also the reimbursement part of it, I want to make sure I show it to the financial people and stuff. They understand what it is and things, and it's new and obviously shocking to people and stuff. But with Abiomed, I had a lot of help with respect to establishing a fellow program. Brett Wingfield is a great friend. He's our local guy, and we call him. He comes like no matter what time, and he'll just like combine and help with whatever we want, arrange free meetings and provide lunch to people, educate them, grant rounds. And that's how I slowly started when I started building the program, called company guys and got their slides presented. Same thing with respect to atherectomy devices, showing videos to our CEO and our prior CEO and also our CMO, and try to educate them and say, because they have no idea of cardiology, and they can be medical doctors, even CMOs, but they have no idea of like interventional cardiology device and stuff. And you try to show the video and explain to them, that really helped them to understand how crucial these devices are and how much it can make a difference. And obviously, they want to serve the community. Their intention is not just to make money, but also serve the community. They are a nonprofit hospital, so it really helped to use the company guys to come by and help with grand rounds, use their slides and presentation to our financial as well as the CMOs and stuff.
That's fantastic. And then one last question, because I don't want to take all your time
Yeah,
tonight.
yeah.
How did you find your shock network? Was there already one in Arkansas? Did you
Great
help
point. Yeah,
build it?
no, actually it was. No, it was a pretty interesting story. Like, I'm very I'm a good friend of Bashir, and we chat a lot. And the Redirect Cardiogenic Shock Initiative, it's an amazing program. So we wanted to start something like this in Arkansas, and actually started by the time I came to this program. In fact, there's a really good guy who's a cardiothoracic surgeon who retired, and he wanted to do something along those lines. And he started noticing the amount of stuff that we're handling. And I was sending patients from here up there, and the volume is really crazy here. So he started noticing the pattern. We started stabilizing cardiogenic shock patients. We started sending them up there. And then he had this idea, and he actually came to me, and we both discussed and said, "Hey, listen, this is actually a great opportunity. Why can't we just do research in our own state and try to figure out if we can support this network?" And this just basically started with a conversation about, "Oh, you sent this patient, this guy's doing okay, recovered and went home. Oh, this guy's getting LVAD, he's recovering, doing okay." And then we started talking about this, and he threw the idea saying, like, "I've always wanted to do something like this." And he retired. Dr. Ransom is his name, and he started this program. So he came to my program and said, "Mahesh, what do you think of like participating in something like this, and we can contribute data and go retrospective and prospective and try to put on some data in this?" I said, "That's a great idea." And I said, and we actually worked together to get the protocol and stuff. And of course, we got a lot from the Detroit Cardiogenic Shock Initiative program, but we kind of like modified according to our protocol and stuff. And we included the other hospitals, and there were like 8 hospitals involved, but now we have 7. It's an ongoing project. If you look up Arkansas Cardiogenic Shock Initiative, it'll show the number of places that we're all pioneering, whatnot, the PIs and stuff. But it basically started like a very small meeting. We just talked about sending our patients, and they had good outcomes. And they're like, "Oh, you guys are sending a lot of cases. I think we should probably look into this." And we talked about like, "Oh, maybe we should just have an initiative in this area, and we should just take all the small hospitals and try to file them all data and stuff and see what it is." And then came the protocols, and we have in our ED, we have the protocols that we paced for ECMO, cardiogenic shock, and this, that. So it helped us mutually. They're getting the data and our patient referrals and stuff, and we are getting their help. And they come and actually train some of our folks with respect to devices. They send people as ECMO coordinators to come train our program people. Post Impella, they come and train people. They take some of our people to their hospital to show them some of the complex stuff like LVADs and transplant stuff, post-transplant. It's a very good mutual relationship. But Baptist Hospital leads the Cardiogenic Initiative, and we're all 7 small hospitals participating along with them. But that's how it started. Like just recently, in the last 3 years, it got established. So,
No, that's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for doing this with us, Mahesh. I mean, I think this is so educational for me, for everybody on Murmur, really. And everybody should follow Mahesh on Murmur because he does ridiculously complex stuff, including, epicardial retrograde CTOs and critical backup center. So we all have something we can learn from Mahesh. And thank you so much for being here, man. We really appreciate it.
no, thank you so much, Chris. As I say, like, I mean, Murmur Journal is one of the big platforms that I feel like about Tran, one of our friends connected me, and I've always had great things to learn. Even though I don't participate these days as much, I just look at every video that's being posted, so I kind of know that you guys, and you do a fantastic job of putting a lot of videos, very educational for interventional people, fellows, or even the senior ones like to look at. I'm promoting Murmur app every day in my place. Like all the residents are getting into it, all the interventional cardiologists that I see, hey, they should get on this app. It's way better than Twitter. So thank you so much for keeping the app and maintaining it. And I really like all the stuff that you do, like, and huge fan. So mutual respect. And thank you again for having me in this video.
Absolutely, man. We couldn't do it without people and contributors like you and everybody on the app just sort of being honest and showing the things that they do. So have a great night,
I
man.
appreciate it. You too. Thank you. Bye.